Hello everyone, these videos titled Income Tax Made Easy is just an effort by the team SRCC Wings of Fire to help you sail easily through the examinations with an objective to score as well as learn. So before I begin with the basic introduction, let's read through the get to know some different aspects of the taxation system. So talking about tax, the tax basically is a compulsory tax payment to any government. The tax is levied on an income or any activity, let's say purchase, sale. In short, it's a compulsory payment. In every taxation system, there are two types of taxes generally classified into direct as well as indirect taxes. The basis point of distinction lies in the fact whether you can shift the burden of the tax levy or not. If the government levies a tax on A, and if he has to bear the burden, as in the case of income tax, so it will be direct tax. But if he can shift the burden on B, let's say the seller sells the goods to purchaser and the government levies VAT on it. So if A can shift the burden to B, it will be known as indirect tax system. Now considering the federal structure of our economy, the governments are generally divided into state government and the central government. However, the constitution takes into consideration that which tax shall be levied by which of the government, and accordingly in the constitution there are three types of list: union list, state list, and the concurrent list that provides the matters on which the law can be made. Certain taxation matters are covered in the union list while certain are covered in the state list. On certain transactions, both the government can levy tax as accordingly. Now, income tax is covered in the union list, that is, the central government has the power. This is covered via entry number 82 in the union list of India, of the Constitution of India. Let me make it a point here. Once you are done through the syllabus, you will generally note that the agricultural income is exempt. Agri income is exempt, and you may carry a belief that the government wants to promote agriculture, so it's not levying income tax on agricultural income. But let me make it a point, the entry number 82 specifically excludes this power from the central government. This entry states tax on income other than agricultural income. So the central government has no power to levy tax on agricultural income. The power has been given to the state government. However, considering the populism policies of the government, no tax has been levied on the agricultural income. Now, generally, the provisions are contained of the income tax are contained in Income Tax Act 1961. Besides law, there are certain rules, notifications, circulars, as well as case laws that govern the taxation system. The Income Tax Act 1961 indicates that the act is on the subject matter, that is income tax, and it is act, so it's applicable in India. And 1961 is the year in which the act was passed. So it indicates the circumstances in which the act was passed. Prior to 1961 act, there was Income Tax Act 1922. There was a need to reform this act post independence. Accordingly, a new act was passed. For the examination purposes, our previous year shall be 2015-16 and assessment year shall be 2016 and 17. This meaning what is previous year, what is assessment year, we shall clear in subsequent slides. But let me make it a point, in a particular year income is earned and in the next year tax is paid on it. So the year with respect to which tax is calculated is known as previous year, and the year in which tax is actually paid is known as the assessment year. So let's now start with the basics. Introduction. While computing income, the income of any person is divided into 5 categories of income. The income has got a huge scope. We need not go into its definition given by section 2. Generally, all the definitions in different laws are contained in section 2 of the act. Now, in this case, the income of a person is divided into 5 categories of income, which are called heads of income. These are as follows. The first head is known as salary, then is house property, business or profession, capital gains, and other sources. So if any benefit is accruing to a person due to employee-employee relationship, the income is taxable under this head. In case you are earning some income from a property and you are earning, let's say, a rent on this, so it will be charged under income under head house property. However, in case you have a business or a profession, as the name indicates, the business or profession, the provisions are contained in section 28 to 44 capital DB. Capital gains, that is the case when you sell a capital asset and there shall be a gain or a loss, accordingly income shall be chargeable to tax. In case any other income is also taxable, it will be charged under the head other sources. After we calculate income under these different heads, we make a total, and this total is known as gross total income. After calculating gross total income, certain deductions are allowed under section 80C to 80U. These are generally done to encourage certain investments. Let's say the gross total income is 10 lakh and you make an investment into LIC insurance policy. The government has allowed deduction up to 1.5 lakh. So the government will charge tax on 8.5 lakh. This is known as total income. A person is required to pay income tax on his total income. So basics are clear. We calculate the income under different heads. We sum them to get a total known as gross total income. Deductions are allowed and accordingly total income is calculated. The entire syllabus will cover upon the intricacies of these. There will be a chapter on the name of salary. There will be a chapter on the name of house property, then on the business or profession, and accordingly you shall know the different provisions. Now talking about the tax rates. Tax rates are different for different categories of person. You may have noted that this is marked in case of red. We'll learn the definition which may be relevant for examination purposes, but we can first consider the practical aspect. So in case of an individual, every Hindu undivided family, association of persons, body or artificial persons. So if you are earning up to 2.5 lakh, there will be no tax. However, for the next 2.5 lakh, the tax rate will be 10%. For the next 5 lakh, there will be tax rate will be 20%, and above 10 lakh, the tax rate will be 30%. So the basic limit is nil, 10, 20 and 30%. How in case of a resident individual, the important point here is resident who is 60 years or more, he is also known as a senior citizen. उस case में first exemption limit will be 3 lakh. So up to 3 lakh there will be no tax charge. On the next 2 lakh 10% tax will be charged. On the next 5 lakh 20% tax will be charged, and above 10 lakh 30% tax will be charged. So comparatively this portion and this portion remains the same. The difference lies only in the exemption limit, and then next 2.5 lakh and next 2 lakh. However, in case of a resident individual who is 80 years, we may call him as a super senior citizen. If he is 80 years or more at any time during previous year, his net taxable income up to 5 lakh shall be exempt. So in case he is earning 4.5 lakh, let's say, he'll pay no tax. On the next 5 lakh, the tax will be charged at the rate 20%. On the next, on any income above 10 lakh, the tax will be charged at 30%. However, in case of non-resident individual, as I mentioned, these limits are only for resident individual. So if a non-resident individual, let's suppose Mr. Khan, who is 70 years of age and a resident of USA, the tax rates that shall apply will be this, as in case of individual. In case of non-resident individual, normal slab rates apply, and in such case exemption limit is 2.5 lakh. So up to 2.5 lakh no tax shall be levied. The firms are taxable at the rate of 30%. This will also include LLP. In case of domestic companies, tax is levied at the rate 30%, and in case of Videshi companies, that is foreign companies, tax is levied at 40%. Now we need to know certain additional points as well. Surcharge, हम 2-3 points पढ़ेंगे. We need to know कि हम tax जो tax rates के under ही आते हैं. Talking about surcharge, it is tax on tax. The concept of surcharge dates back to 1962, that is Indo-China War, when our country incurred a normal expenditure on war, and it was expected to provide funds for the war expenditures. Accordingly, a new tax was levied that was known as surcharge. So the tax is levied on super rich, that is if your income exceeds a certain limit, you will have to pay tax on tax. Now the limits will vary according to assessee. Assessee is a person on whom tax is charged. Now if net taxable income does not exceed 1 crore, अगर आपकी इनकम 1 करोड़ से कम है तो आपको कोई सर्ज चार्ज नहीं देना पड़ेगा. But in case taxable income exceeds 1 crore, the surcharge rate will be 12%. So अगर आप इंडिविजुअल हो, HUF हो या फर्म हो, 1 करोड़ से ज़्यादा इनकम कमाते हो, तो नॉर्मली इस प्रोविजंस के अकॉर्डिंग आपका टैक्स कैलकुलेट किया जाएगा एंड टैक्स के ऊपर टैक्स लग जाएगा. Let's suppose the tax rate comes out, tax after calculation comes out to be 30 lakh. So we'll apply 12% of 30 lakh, that shall be 3.6 lakh. So we'll sum up this, and this shall be the total tax liability. In case of a domestic company, if net taxable income exceeds 1 crore, the taxable income, the surcharge rate shall be 7%. However, in case the taxable income exceeds 10 crore, the surcharge rate will be 12%. Foreign income, if net taxable income, in case of foreign company, if income exceeds 1 crore, the surcharge rate will be 2%. However, it exceeds 10 crore, the surcharge rate will be 5%. Now, it may so happen that you are earning just a minor increase in income over 1 crore. Let's suppose 1 crore and 1 lakh. And you may have to pay tax on tax. It may so happen कि आपका 1 करोड़ से income ज़्यादा तो only 1 lakh है, but tax rates increases a lot. So surcharge, however, is subject to marginal relief. So marginal income increase हुई तो उसके कारण आपको marginal relief भी मिलेगा. However, this is not much relevant from an examination view. You may refer to miscellaneous topic that we shall do in the last to understand it. Other definitions that may be relevant for a theoretical question number 1 generally asked in the BCom honors exam, we shall also refer to them. Now, tax calculated above including surcharge shall be subject to primary education cess at the rate 2% and secondary higher education cess at the rate 1%. Now, the concept of education cess was brought by our former PM Manmohan Singh ji. He thought it very relevant to accumulate certain amount for the expenditure on education, and accordingly this cess was levied. However, after calculating certain taxes, another point to be noted about is rebate under section 87 capital A. Generally, in practical context, you will just hear 87 capital A. So you need to know what actually 87 capital A is about. It's about the rebate. So this also highlights the importance of the need to remember certain sections. In case you need to talk professionally, you need to build a professional career, the importance of learning sections, and once you know the sections, flaunting it in the class or flaunting it in front of your friends become a wishful desire for everyone. Now, certain persons may not have such a great income. The government, in order to give them concession from income tax, has brought in the concept of rebate. Concession from income tax is called rebate, and rebate shall be allowed only to resident individual. याद रखना, हमने रेजिडेंट इंडिविजुअल कंसेप्ट पहले भी पढ़ा था कि अगर रेजिडेंट इंडिविजुअल 60 ईयर्स या 80 ईयर्स से मोर है तो उसके लिए स्लैब रेट्स डिफरेंट अप्लाई होते हैं. Provided total income is not exceeding 5 lakh and rebate shall be allowed only up to 2000. अगर 5 लाख या 5 लाख से कम इनकम है तो रिबेट अप टू 2000 अप्लाई होगी. बट अगर आपका टैक्स लाइबिलिटी ही 1500 आ रही है तो आपको रिबेट भी 1500 ही मिलेगी. सो इट्स अप टू 2000. Cess is applied after permitting rebate and after levying surcharge in case income exceeds prescribed limit. So सबसे पहले आप income under है different heads compute करोगे, gross total income calculate करोगे, reductions दोगे, total income calculate करोगे. अगर देखोगे total income 5 लाख से कम है तो rebate दोगे, and after that cess is levied. Rounding off of income, section 288 capital A applies. The taxable income shall be rounded off to the nearest multiple of 10 rupees. Let's suppose आपकी income आ रही है 6,95,505. So this shall be rounded off to 6,95,510. Similarly, rounding off of tax, section 288 capital B, if your taxable liability comes out to be 49056, it will be rounded off to the nearest multiple of 10 rupees, that is 49060. बहुत पढ़ लिया होगा हमने, बेसिक हेड्स देखे, फिर टैक्स रेट्स देखे. नाउ लेट्स सी कि कंप्यूटेशन एक्चुअली में कैसे करते हैं. नाउ दिस इज एन इलस्ट्रेशन शोइंग प्रेजेंटेशन कंप्यूटेशन ऑफ टैक्स लाइबिलिटी ऑफ मिस्टर सिंह फॉर असेसमेंट ईयर 2016-17. वील नो द डेफिनेशन कि असेसमेंट ईयर क्या होता है. सो दिस इज अ बेसिक प्रेजेंटेशन दैट यू विल फॉलो इन द एग्जाम. सबसे पहले इनकम अंडर द हेड सैलरी, लेट्स सपोज 3 लाख. Income under head business or profession 1 lakh. Income under head house property 2 lakh. So you sum up this and it comes out to be 6 lakh. Deductions under section 80C to capital U. There will be again a separate chapter on deductions. कहाँ कहाँ इन्वेस्ट करने पे कैसी कैसी डिडक्शंस मिलेंगी. बीच में काफी टायरिंग भी हो जाता है, बट दिस इज अबाउट द फन ऑफ इनकम टैक्स. All of you might be willing to earn the highest income, that is the income in the highest bracket, but we may not be willing to pay tax. However, it becomes important to understand the tax in the same sense. चाहे टैक्स देना हो चाहे ना या ना देना हो, आपको इनकम टैक्स रिटर्न तो एटलीस्ट फाइल करनी ही होगी. So you need to know the basics, and the sole concept of these videos is just to help you score as well as learn. So there is two objectives that we are following: learn plus score. Now coming to the point, you calculate the net total income 4.5 lakh. Now you compute the tax liability. Remember the first table, that on first 2.5 lakh the tax liability shall be nil. Our total income is 4.5 lakh. So the remaining 2 lakh tax shall be levied at the rate 10%. So 20,000 shall be tax liability. Now since this was less than 5 lakh, so we shall permit rebate of 2,000 up to 2,000. The remaining amount comes out to be 18,000, and on this cess shall be levied. Though this is bifurcated into 2 plus 1 for examination purposes, you can calculate it at 3%. Total tax liability comes out to be 18,540. You may write a note: rebate has been allowed since total income is up to 5 lakh, and it is assumed Mr. Singh is a resident individual because rebate is allowed to a resident individual. In case Mr. Singh was aged 60 years or more, that is he was a senior citizen, tax liability would have been 13,390. You may calculate this for your own purpose and verify your answer. However, in case he was aged 80 years or more at any time, the age is to be seen at any time during the previous year, his tax liability would be nil. Now there are certain miscellaneous topics. Generally the question paper will contain the first question from residential income tax, residential status, and there may be a choice between the theory portions. Certain theory portions are relevant. Let's also read them once. Miscellaneous, let me make it a point that the definitions are always given in section 2. So आपको कोई definition का सब section या clause याद हो या ना हो, आप एटलीस्ट इतना बोल सकते हो एज पर सेक्शन 2 ऑफ कंपनीज एक्ट, लेट्स से सेक्शन 2 ऑफ इनकम टैक्स, सेक्शन 2 ऑफ सीएसटी, सेक्शन 2 ऑफ जीएसटी. जीएसटी भी आएगा, उसकी डेफिनेशंस भी सेक्शन 2 में ही होंगी. सो द पर्सन इसमें 7 कैटेगरीज आती हैं. पर्सन इंक्लूड्स एन इंडिविजुअल, लेट्स सपोज मिस्टर एक्स, अ हिंदू अनडिवाइडेड फैमिली, अ जॉइंट फैमिली रनिंग अ बिजनेस. इसकी आइडेंटिफिकेशन मार्क होता है एंड सन्स. सो इट मे बी करतार सिंह एंड सन्स, AB एंड सन्स. अ फर्म, इसके आइडेंटिफिकेशन मार्क होता है ABC एंड कंपनी. अगर एंड कंपनी लिखा हो कहीं, कुछ लोग CO डॉट भी पढ़ते हैं इसे, तो इट इज आइडेंटिफिकेशन मार्क ऑफ अ फर्म. इन केस ऑफ अ कंपनी, लेट्स से एक्स लिमिटेड और एसोसिएशन ऑफ पर्संस और अ बॉडी ऑफ इंडिविजुअल्स, वेदर इनकॉर्पोरेटेड और नॉट. यू मे वंडर कि ये क्या होता है AOI एंड DOP. अब let's suppose there is a partnership firm. After its partners have died, the heirs of the partners continue to carry the business, however without forming any partnership. So this is known as the association of persons. A local authority, that is municipality, MCD, every artificial judicial person not falling within any of the preceding categories. This may include liquidator of a company. So the definition of a person includes 7 categories. You may pay attention to this. Now the previous year means the financial year immediately preceding the assessment year. As already discussed in the starting of the chapter, The income is earned in a particular year, however it's taxed in next year. Now this next year is known as assessment year. जब आपकी assessment होगी and जिस year के लिए आपकी assessment हो रही है उसे बोलते हैं previous year. The previous year has been defined in terms of assessment year. तो it's very important कि हमें assessment year भी पता हो. जनरली आप definitions जब भी पढ़ते हो तो ऐसा नहीं है कि आपको definitions याद करनी है या रट्टा मारनी है. You go and read the law. जहाँ जहाँ पे भी कुछ technical terms आती हैं then you may refer to the definition clause. So when you go and pick up any bare act, do not ever start from section 2. Read section 1 that generally contains the applicability, commencement, short title. Read the other sections, go for the technical terms in section 2. Now assessment year. Assessment year means a period of 12 months commencing on the first day of April every year. So till 1st April to 31st March next year, this is known as assessment year. For exams, previous year applicable is 2015-16, accordingly assessment year 2016-17 as already mentioned. So assessment year is a period of 12 months and accordingly previous year क्या होगा? Financial year immediately preceding the assessment year. So this is the previous year. However, in case of a newly set up business or a profession or a new source of income, the previous year shall start with the date of setting up of the business or a source of income coming into existence. अब लेट सपोज आप बिजनेस ही 1 जून से स्टार्ट कर रहे हो, आपकी इनकम अक्रू भी 1 जून से ही होगी. सो इन दैट केस द प्रीवियस ईयर शैल बी फ्रॉम 1 जून टू 31st March. The assessment year will begin from 1st April till the 31st March of next year and accordingly the income of the previous year shall be taxed. Now coming to assessing, we know we have read the 7 categories of a person. Tax is levied on the person, but every person may not be assessee. Every person may not be assessee. कुछ लोगों की इनकम ही कम होगी, लेट से 2 लाख होगी, जहाँ 60 years से ज़्यादा है तो 2.5 लाख है लेट से, बट उन पे इनकम टैक्स नहीं चार्ज हो रहा. So they come under the category of a person, but they are not assessee. So what is assessee? Assessee means a person by whom any tax or any other sum of money, अब other sum of money में interest भी आएगा, penalty भी आएगी, is payable under the act and includes. अब let me make it a point, एक आपको टिप दे दूं, जब भी आप लॉ पढ़ोगे एंड जहां पे भी इंक्लूड देखोगे तो इसका मतलब होता है कि द डेफिनेशन इज इंक्लूसिव and not exhaustive. Putting it into Hindi words, मानो या ना मानो माना ही पड़ेगा. जो तो आम आदमी समझता है, मतलब इंक्लूसिव डेफिनेशन का मतलब जो आम आदमी समझता है वो तो है ही, पर यह भी शामिल है. सो द पॉइंट्स मेंशन्ड बिलो ये भी शामिल है, बट जो आम आदमी समझता है वो तो है ही. सो व्हाट इज इंक्लूडेड इन द डेफिनेशन ऑफ assessee is every person in respect of whom any proceeding under the act has been taken. लेट सपोज आपके अकॉर्डिंग आपको कोई टैक्स पे नहीं करना था, आपने कोई टैक्स पे नहीं किया, बट डिपार्टमेंट को लगता है कि आपको टैक्स पे करना था एंड आपके अकॉर्डिंग आपके अगेंस्ट प्रोसीडिंग चला ली गई है. सो यू विल बी टर्म्ड एज assessee. Also you learn at the later chapters that the income of the minors or in case of the clubbing provisions the income is taxable in respect of the other person. So अगर there is a father, there is a son and इसे कुछ इनकम अर्न होती है for which father is taxable because the minor is not in the capability to pay tax, so he will also known as assessee, though इसे individually कुछ टैक्स खुद पे नहीं करना. Every person who has not followed assessee in any provision of the act, he is also known as assessee in default. Making an example in this regard, you would have heard about the term TDS. So TDS stands for tax deducted at source. Every employer making a payment to his employee has to deduct tax at source to ensure safety of tax. अब अगर employer ने tax नहीं काटा while paying salary, he'll be known as assessee in default because he has not followed the provision of the act. And the provision of the act क्या कहता है कि अपने employee को सैलरी देने के पहले आप टैक्स काटो एंड गवर्नमेंट को आप डिपॉजिट करो. अब क्यों? क्योंकि there is one employer and thousand of employees working upon him. अगर 1000 से टैक्स एक साथ लेना हो तो it may be a challenging task to the government. However, the government will go to the employer and take tax from him. सो assessee will include any person जिसने टैक्स देना है. It will also include any person जिसके अगेंस्ट प्रोसीडिंग शुरू हो गई है एंड जिसने कोई प्रोविजन वायलेट की है. असेसमेंट ईयर हैज ऑलरेडी बीन डन. Now, as we started, I mentioned that the income of the previous year is taxed in the assessment year. The common rule of taxing income of the previous year in the following year, that is assessment year, is however not applicable in certain circumstances. There are 5 circumstances, that is income of non-resident from shipping. Where any ship belongs to a non-resident, कोई non-resident है, shipping business चला रहा है by carrying passengers or goods at a port in India. टैक्स ऑन सच इनकम इज चार्ज व्हेन द शिप लीव्स इंडिया. जैसे ही शिप इंडिया को लीव कर जाएगी हम उससे साथ में टैक्स ले लेंगे. भाई पता नहीं तू वापस आएगा कि नहीं आएगा, टैक्स अभी देके जा. जनरली द टैक्स चार्ज इज 7.5% ऑफ द फ्रेट चार्ज बाय द नॉन रेजिडेंट. In also other circumstances like income of persons leaving India either permanently or for a long period of time charged to tax in which the year he leaves India. आप आज बोलो मैं इंडिया छोड़ के जा रहा हूँ, अब डिपार्टमेंट बोलेगी पता नहीं वापस आएगा कि नहीं, मैं आज ही टैक्स ले लूंगा. तो डिपार्टमेंट विल कलेक्ट द टैक्स इन द ईयर इन विच यू लीव इंडिया. इनकम ऑफ एसोसिएशन ऑफ पर्सन्स ऑल्सो नोन एज AOP. Body of individuals also known as BOI. or an artificial judicial person formed for particular event or a purpose. Let's suppose किसी particular event के लिए आप association बना रहे हो तो उसी साल आपको टैक्स लग जाएगा. इनकम ऑफ अ पर्सन ट्राइंग टू एलिनेट देयर प्रॉपर्टी सो एज टू अवॉइड पेमेंट ऑफ टैक्स. आप अपनी प्रॉपर्टी अपनी वाइफ के नाम या लेट्स सपोज किसी को भी देना चाह रहे हो ताकि आपको टैक्स ना देना पड़े. सो गवर्नमेंट टू मेक श्योर दैट द टैक्स डज नॉट गो अनकलेक्टेड will collect the tax in the same previous year. Income of a discontinued business or a profession. आपने बिजनेस ही बंद कर दिया तो आपको उसी साल बिजनेस पे टैक्स लग जाएगा, इनकम पे टैक्स लग जाएगा. We learned the concept of surcharge. वहाँ पे हमने पढ़ा था कि marginal relief concept is applicable in the concept of surcharge. Now this is not from an examination point of view. However, the aim was to learn as well as score. तो एक लर्निंग पॉइंट देखते हैं कि मार्जिनल रिलीफ का कंसेप्ट बोलता क्या है. एज पर दिस इंक्रीमेंटल टैक्स दैट इज टैक्स ऑन इनकम इंक्लूडिंग सरचार्ज. सरचार्ज कब लगेगा? जब इनकम एक्सीड करेगी 1 करोड़ माइनस टैक्स ऑन 1 करोड़. आपने 1 करोड़ कमाया तो क्या टैक्स होगा, 1 करोड़ से ज्यादा कमाया तो क्या टैक्स होगा, उनके डिफरेंस को इंक्रीमेंटल टैक्स बोलते हैं. अब दिस इंक्रीमेंटल टैक्स शुड नॉट एक्सीड इंक्रीमेंटल इनकम. आपकी इनकम माइनस 1 करोड़. ऑब्वियस है, आप बोल लो कि भाई जितना तो मैंने कमाया नहीं 1 करोड़ से ज्यादा, उससे ज्यादा आप टैक्स कलेक्ट कर रहे हो. लेट्स कंसिडर एन एग्जांपल. व्हेन यू अर्न 1 करोड़ योर टैक्स लायबिलिटी बिफोर सेस कम्स आउट टू बी 28,25,000. नाउ दिस मे बी अंडरस्टूड. आपको टैक्स, आई होप आपको टैक्स कैलकुलेट पता करना आ गया होगा. वैसे इफ यू हैवंट गॉट, लेट्स रिवाइज. अप टू 2.5 लाख कोई टैक्स नहीं लगेगा. नेक्स्ट 2.5 लाख पे 10% लगेगा, सो इट विल बी 25,000. नेक्स्ट 5 लाख पे 20% लगेगा, सो इट विल बी 1 लाख. एंड द रिमेनिंग 90 लाख पे 30% लगेगा, which shall be 27 lakh. So this comes out to be 28.25 lakh. But when you earn, let's suppose 1 crore 1 lakh, your tax liability will be 31 lakh 97,600. अब ये कैसे कैलकुलेट होगा? इधर सब कुछ सेम है तो रिमेनिंग 91 लाख बचेगा, उस पे आप 30% लगाओगे, जो भी होगा उसका सम टोटल करके उस पे सरचार्ज लगाओगे. सरचार्ज इन केस ऑफ इंडिविजुअल इज 12%. Thus income increases only by 1 lakh but tax increases by 3,72,000. Applying this principle, the incremental tax बढ़ा लो, ठीक है, इनकम बढ़ी है टैक्स देंगे, बट भाई इनकम जितने से बढ़ी है टैक्स भी कम से कम उतना ही बढ़ाना, ज्यादा मत बढ़ा देना. The incremental tax cannot exceed 1 lakh and hence tax liability will be जो मेरा 1 करोड़ पे टैक्स होगा प्लस इंक्रीज इन इनकम. अगर मेरा इंक्रीज इन टैक्स कम होता इंक्रीज इन इनकम से तो मैं इंक्रीज इन टैक्स ऐड करता, बट मेरी इनकम ही 1 लाख से बढ़ी है तो मैं 1 लाख ही ऐड करूंगा. ऑन दिस अमाउंट सेस विल बी कैलकुलेटेड. ट्राई कैलकुलेटिंग टैक्स ऑन 1 करोड़ 10 लाख एंड यू विल फाइंड दैट देयर विल बी नो मार्जिनल रिलीफ. क्यों मार्जिनल रिलीफ नहीं होगा? उस केस में इनकम ज्यादा बड़ी होगी एंड टैक्स इंक्रीमेंटल टैक्स कम बड़ा होगा. नाउ दिस वाज ऑल फ्रॉम द बेसिक्स इंट्रोडक्शन. आई होप this was a great fun. Do provide your feedback. The videos for other chapters will follow soon, but your feedback is what we are looking for. SRCC, Wings of Fire, SRCC @gmail.com. Do like our FB page. Wish you all the very best. Happy studying. Jai Hind.